could totally compromise this, but somehow or another, it's all interconnected.
I may do an amendment, Judge.
Oh, you do?
I
Okay.
may for that residency.
You want to do it? Okay.
I might just to throw it out there to see if we can remove.
Did you say it might require the whole audio system be redone again?
Okay.
I just want to give you a heads up because I like the rest of it, but I'm just not comfortable with that piece, especially when I keep saying we really don't use
Got
it.
Yeah, well, I understand what you're saying. It's one of those things that I know I've already heard from a few of the diehards about us even talking about relaxing it, and I'm like, okay, come on, guys, this is the whole new brave world that we
This is not the 70s.
Residency?
Yeah, residency.
I mean, back in the 70s and the 80s, you could do that, but now you got dual income. So.
Yep. Okay. Are we already here? Okay, we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the regularly scheduled Beloit City Council meeting at 100 State Street, Beloit, Wisconsin. It is now 7:12, and thank you for your patience. We're running a little bit late this morning. Item number 1.
Roll call shows all councilors present.
All right, item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Special orders of the day announcements. There's an employee recognition. We'd like to, we have 4 of our clerk's employees that have been through the ringer this year with all of these elections. And we just, after they've been through all of that, we really felt that they needed some more concrete than just being patted on the back. And so they're all here today, and we want to offer you these proclamations. Would you read them?
Thank you, Mr. President. That's a good idea. Delegate me to read them. I got to get my glasses out, but I'd be more than happy to read them. And I just want to quickly add to what Council President said. It has been an extraordinary year for the City Clerk's office. There were 6 elections, which were, I believe, 2 more than are normally held, and several of them were very contentious elections that surrounded very emotional issues. There was a lot of turnout, there were a lot of questions, a lot of inquiries, there was a lot of early voting. The process was quite extraordinary, and it was all handled by the 4 people that we're going to introduce to you tonight under the very, very capable direction, of course, of the City Clerk, Rebecca Hausman. And I'm going to start and read Rebecca's proclamation, and then I'm going to mention the names. We're going to ask everybody, and if the clerk could also come around and join us for just a moment. This is a certificate of appreciation that's being presented tonight to Rebecca Hausman, who's the city clerk for the city of Beloit. In recognition of your extraordinary efforts, high level of commitment, and dedication to the office of the city clerk and the citizens of Beloit, this past year held a record 6 elections, during which you ordered supplies, trained poll workers, tested equipment, registered voters, and ensured accurate and impartial results reported to the state, while also professionally and proficiently carrying out the normal day-to-day operations of the city clerk's office. We salute you and congratulations. Rebecca, can you come around and join us? Also, give her a nice round of applause. As I mentioned the other names, Jolene Aherns, would you please come forward and join us from the City Clerk's office? Judy Elston, the Deputy City Clerk. And last but not least, Alice Lamont. Alice is actually an occasional or part-time worker who put in an extraordinary number of hours this year as well. And we want to very much thank all of them. And with that, Rebecca, I'm going to offer you the microphone. If you'd like to make a few comments, please step forward.
Well, thank you very much to the City Council and to the City Manager for recognizing the extensive and extraordinary efforts my staff efforts of my staff over the last year to 18 months. I started as a city clerk 2 years ago with background, knowledge, and education in local government. However, none of that was as a city clerk. Deputy Clerk Judy Elson and Assistant Deputy Clerk Jolene Ahrens welcomed me and played an extremely important role in making this office so successful. They brought the background and expertise, and I brought a little bit of leadership. The continued success of our office through all of the significant changes to election laws, redistricting, and administration of 6 elections in 2012 shows the character of these employees as individuals as well as us as a team. There was a time this spring when Jolene said to me, "You know, we can probably get some help in the office." And then I realized we didn't have to do it alone. So we asked Alice Lamont if she would work with us on a temporary basis, and she was available. Her role on our team of answering the incessantly ringing phone, assisting confused electors at the counter, and data entry allowed us to continue our work related to elections as well as the other day-to-day operations of the city clerk's office. We all have different strengths together, and we serve different but equally important roles, and together we make a great team. And if we can handle the last 18 months in the city clerk's office, I'm sure we can handle anything that comes next. So I really thank you, and I really appreciate your recognition of our hard work and dedication to our jobs as well as to the city of Beloit. Thank you.
As they're coming around, I don't know if I can be heard right now, but I also want to thank the city clerk's office for all that you do. Not only do they handle all the election stuff, but they also kind of keep us in line when we forget what time a meeting started and you're calling at the last minute. But also, when I served as a president, that office was very helpful with me in meetings and making sure that I knew what we were going to be talking about. And if I had a question on what we talked about the night before, they were right there. So a very professional office of individuals, and I just want to personally thank each one of them for all you do for me. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 4A.
A public hearing and proposed ordinance to amend Section 11.2.5 Sub E Sub 2 of the zoning ordinance, Chapter 19 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit relating to retail sales service accessory uses. The Plan Commission recommended approval 6-0.
Madam Director.
The current definition of retail sales and service uses does allow the small-scale manufacturing of goods as long as they're sold within the store. Several of our owners have requested the flexibility to expand their business by engaging in that small-scale manufacture of goods, but it would be distributed to other retail outlets for sale off-site. One example that we've had in our community for a long time that is currently non-conforming is Old Fashioned Bakery, who, as we know, sells their goods in Woodman's and a variety of other locations. So when we were asked by Bushel and Peck's, by Jackie, if we would consider looking at doing this, we prepared the draft ordinance and thought it would be a good idea to allow our businesses to remain where they are and expand. And Plan Commission felt the same and did recommend approval of the zoning text amendment. We are asking that you do the first and second reading tonight.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion first.
We need to move the open. I need to open the public hearing first, Dave. Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing on item 4A. Does anybody wish to come forward and speak on item 4A? Second call for anyone to come speak on item 4A. Third and final call for anyone to come forward and speak on item 4A. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on item 4A and entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll make the motion now.
Motion by Lubke, second by DeForest. Does anybody wish to speak about this? Hearing none, all in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We've suspended the rules at a vote of 7-0.
Approval of the underlying motion, Mr. President.
Second.
Moved by Van de Bogart, second by Levy. Any councilor questions or comments on this? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. Item 5 is citizens' participation. This is the time on the agenda where citizens can speak to the council about items that are coming before us or may come before us in the future. Council members may not act on any request at this meeting, but may refer the speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from public personal attacks of any kind. I have one sheet on the item 5 right now. It's for Matt Finnegan. Please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Matt Finnegan. I live at 4745 East Collie Road in the city of Beloit. And I'm coming to talk a little bit about your item looking to drop a residency requirement, or at least making it a, something that's more of a, I guess more of a policy decision, I think is the way it's worded. But I guess my main concern is that I think it's one of these little questions that actually can further erode community. I think it's really, really important that in the old days, if someone was a fireman in the city of Beloit, it was just assumed they lived in the city of Beloit. If someone was a police officer, that's just the way it worked. I mean, they lived in the community, they worked, played, and lived in the community. Unfortunately, I've learned in the last year and a half serving on the Equal Opportunities Commission, we really scrutinized the statistics and looked at what was going on in the city of Beloit, and some of the statistics scare me. It's that 10,000 people leave Beloit every day to go to work, and 10,000 people come to Beloit every day to go to work. Now, we didn't have a breakdown on, what level of job and that kind of thing that was happening, but I do know that the median income in the city of Beloit is approximately $38,000. So that's really probably many of the people that work for the taxpayers in Beloit. They make that kind of money, if not more. In fact, probably a lot of them quite a bit more. And so I guess what I'm saying is that buying power is leaving Beloit every day. They work here, and I'm not saying they can't do a good job, and they can. But I just kind of believe that when someone lives, works, and plays in the city of Beloit, that when they make a decision, it affects, it's a little bit more, I guess where you put it, it's a little more serious decision when it's going to affect their own children in the school district, or their own children in the city of Beloit and their own relatives that live here. I mean, I worry a little bit at what I call the talent drain. I mean, you see things like this in the paper just from this weekend. It was just awesome. You see Mr. Moen here. Mr. Moen wouldn't have done as much as he did in the city of Beloit if he didn't live here. I just really kind of believe that that's the case. So I think the talent drain after work is a very, very real thing that we need to take a look at. I think that can happen. Residency requirements, like you said, maybe, a sign of a thing in the past, but I really think that it's important. City of Beloit and the school district are the number, between the two of them, you add them together, they're the second largest employer in Beloit. The only one that beats us is the hospital. So I think, that kind of money leaving, because I really do believe where your treasure is, your heart will be. And most of the time, it's not just your money, it's your family. I think that is very important. So to further erode that community a little bit by not having these residency requirements, in fact, I'd ask you to increase them for new employees. Any new employees should ask them to live here. I realize sometimes it makes it harder to get maybe the highest pedigree of an employee when it comes to that, but you ask any basketball coach or any football coach, they want a bunch of guys that are working together. Bringing in the big person, isn't necessarily conducive. I'm probably running out of time, huh? Okay. I guess all I'm saying is I really, really don't want to see that kind of requirement dropped. In fact, I'd ask you to increase it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have anyone else wishing to come forward and speak under citizen participation? Third and final call for persons to come forward and speak under citizens' participation. Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the item 5 and move forward to item 6, the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless the council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point in the agenda. Do we have any items that councilors wish to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, consent agenda consists of items 6A through 6F. Do we have a motion? Move to approval from Levy.
Second.
Second by Spreitzer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. Item number 7A.
A resolution approving a Class B beer license for Mexico Dominicana LLC located at 854 Henry Avenue. The ABLCC did recommend denial, 6-0.
Do we have a staff report on this one, Madam Clerk?
We do not, but I can hopefully answer any questions that you may have.
Great. All right, so let's be clear that vote for approval in this one would be for approval, and then we have this has been a motion for denial. Does anybody have a motion for approval?
I'll make the motion so that we can have certainly the discussion, Mr. President.
Okay.
For approval.
I'll second that.
All right, moved by Van der Bogart and second by Spreitzer. Questions?
I think we should follow the recommendations, Mr. President, of our alcohol committee. I think they make sense. We read through the minutes of the meeting and the discussion that took place there. Seemed to make sense to me, and I would, although I made the motion to approve it, just to discuss it, I think that we should follow their recommendation.
Councilor DeForest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, read the minutes. I would like to hear from our representative to that body, Councilman Levy, if you could share with us some of the discussion that was held, and especially if you could elaborate more on the neighborhood resident concerns.
Basically, what we discussed, it came back before the group twice, because the first time it came, there was a survey that was completed, but most of the individuals on that survey were not from the neighborhood. They were from, some of them were out of town, some of them were even on the west side, but not from the immediate neighborhood. So the committee asked the police department to go out and conduct a survey of the neighborhood to see what individuals in the neighborhood, how they felt. Now, there is a group, the Merrill Revitalization Group, I can say that word, that has been fighting for over a decade to keep alcohol out of the neighborhood. They've worked very hard on getting it out of a couple other stores that was in the neighborhood, and the neighbors felt that was the direction that they still would like to go. Sure, over the surveys, there was a majority of the neighbors who said they didn't have a problem with it. So I want to just be honest with that. But the group that came forward stressed the importance of how hard they worked to get the alcohol out of the Merrill neighborhood. They foresee that bringing alcohol back into the neighborhood will also increase the loitering that was there once before in that area, also increase maybe problems that may go on in the immediate neighborhood itself. The question was asked of the business owner, how would this impact his revenue? And he did say that without this, that his revenue would suffer, to which point it was pointed out that he only has a limited amount of tables in there. I believe it's only about 6 or 12 tables, so the financial impact on this business was not warranted by saying if you're selling this alcohol, you're not going to be making enough off of those tables to sustain your business if that's the only thing you're looking for. And I guess the biggest fear is that with this license, there is the ability to also sell alcohol to individuals, and they could leave and take it out into the neighborhood. So the overall assessment was we've rid the neighborhood of this, and we do not want it to come back in. And that was the message that was sent out to the group. And there was also members of the committee who remembers the struggle that the Merrill group did, and they were in agreement with it. And they also said that they've done an excellent job of cleaning up the neighborhood of alcohol, so they didn't want to see it go back into this neighborhood.
Thank you.
Any other councilor questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. So item, yes. Yes, item fails 0 to 7. Item 8A.
A proposed ordinance to amend Section 1.04 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit relating to residency requirements of certain city employees.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a
Thanks.
staff report on this one. This is a modification, not a repeal of the city's residency requirements. Back in 2006, we substantially expanded the residency standards and included a number of division heads of smaller divisions working in mostly staff or office positions. Many of these people are, but not all of them, are domiciled here in City Hall. One of the issues that we encountered with the expanded residency requirements was, of course, the proverbial hardship. We've actually lost some candidates. Sometimes they pull out when they make the initial inquiry. Sometimes they've withdrawn somewhere during the selection process because of the residency requirement. And this does not happen all the time, and most of the people on this potential list that would be eligible for hardship waiver are actually residents of the city. But it does happen enough times so that the management team has asked us to consider and asked council to consider allowing us to have a hardship waiver for these certain positions that are more ministerial or support in nature. I want to first point out that this particular language in the ordinance was modified somewhat and tightened up. There's a grandfather provision that was in the original ordinance. The language there was tightened up somewhat as to when and how long that grandfather language would apply. Also, what I would call the key line managers of the city, from myself, the city manager, to the assistant, all the department directors, and all of the large division directors, the 5 division directors in Public Works, which are running fairly large departmental size operations in many cases. There would be no waiver, no hardship waiver available for all the management positions, and an appointment to one of those positions would require a residency. The second group, however, the paragraph 3 group, is what Council Levy was referring to earlier in our agenda review piece. Represent positions like the Deputy City Attorney, the Director of Planning, the City Treasurer, the City Clerk, City Assessor, the Court Administrator. Most of these positions are support or administrative in nature, and they also do not pay the same salaries as are earned by the city's management team, and yet they have the residency requirement. And we're not suggesting or recommending that the residency requirement be eliminated, but it would be very, very helpful, particularly with this group of positions, if we had a hardship waiver. Things we often run into here, or spouses working in a different city or a different locale, and there's a desire to situate the home somewhere in the middle, have a short commute for both rather than a long for one, a short for the other. After 2008, housing became a major issue. It's being able to buy and sell housing for individuals to take a job that pays this kind of salary, in many cases, became prohibitive, if not, in fact, impossible. So I want to stress that the goal here is to allow us to have a hardship waiver that we could use in those cases when we have a significant financial or family hardship that's somewhat unusual or outside of the normal changes that everyone contends with when you shift jobs, and to be able to use a hardship waiver if necessary in these situations. And I'll tell you, the management team has had several long discussions about this issue because we know this is a sensitive issue, one that's important to the community, to make sure that the city employees, or at least the ones that are in management or supervisory positions, are residents of the city. And during our discussions, everyone agreed that their first priority would be to get the very best qualified person for these jobs. And certainly we would love all of them to be city residents. Every effort will be made to encourage them to be city residents. However, there are cases where that is just not possible, and we would rather not give up a top candidate over the residency issue. So that is why we're asking for a hardship waiver, and a hardship waiver only with regard to a number of these support and administrative positions. With that, Mr. President, I think I'll stop on the staff report that covers the subject, and be happy to answer any further questions that councilors may have.
Okay. I think we'll get a motion on the table first.
So I move approval.
Moved by, so suspend the rules first,
Sure.
okay. Is that acceptable? Okay, so first, moved to suspend the rules from Spreitzer, and second by Lukey. Do you want to talk, let's go ahead and open it for discussion right now.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank staff for going back and looking at this and making changes and updating it and bringing it back and having a couple of workshops to discuss this. As the city manager said, this is a very, very, I'm not going to say difficult, but very interesting and challenging agenda item. And I just want to make sure that we're looking at all the options. Serving on the school board in the past, we had the same issue there several years ago. And one of the things that came up out of that discussion was nowadays we have dual income earners, where it's kind of difficult for nowadays where you may hire someone in the top level management position and their spouse or someone may have the similar position or a little less position in another city. You're going to ask the dual family income earners now to go down to one income when they move into a city when they're being forced by the residency requirement. Let me be clear. I have no concerns with the page 2, and that's where we've talked about the city manager, the assistant city manager, those positions there. My main concern is with, as the city manager stated, item 3, with those lack of a better term, administrative positions that we're talking about issuing a waiver for. Question I have, that if we indeed see a need to issue waivers for those individuals, do they need to be part of this policy at all? I'm looking at city assessor, and I don't believe right now we have one. And then the other similar positions which may be established, we don't know what those positions are. But in my opinion, if we're looking at issuing a waiver automatically right now, if that's what we're discussing, do they need to be part of this policy at all? Like I said, I don't have a problem with the first set of employees. I do have a concern with this. As we say, and it's been said, that where we're paying them with taxpayers' money, but as Mr. Finnegan said, that the average median income here is $38,000. Okay, these individuals may be making between $38,000 or $50,000. I think the higher end positions are the ones that we're requiring to work here. But I guess I do not want to tie the city's hands, as the city manager said, when we're going out recruiting people and saying, well, you know what, this is what you have to do living to the city, and they're not looking at the high dollar amount that the other positions are looking for. I just want us to make sure that we are looking at all options. If we're talking about we're going to be hiring the best candidate for the position, that candidate may live out of the city. And my thing is consistency. If we're talking about issuing a waiver, then why are they even in here? We can eliminate that whole waiver piece by saying we don't need these individuals in this particular policy.
Councilor DeForest.
Thank you. I respectfully disagree. I think there should be an expectation, quite frankly, that all of our employees are encouraged to live within the city of Beloit, and especially these division heads in some cases, and individuals that are making some higher, what I would consider higher end salaries, maybe because I'm a social worker. I see things a little differently. All these folks are making more money than I make, and I think that those are good salaries, and taxpayers are paying for those, and I think it's a fair expectation that they place that investment in the city. I'm concerned that what I raised in the workshop was I did not feel the language that defined what constituted a hardship was defined, and I'm still not satisfied. It's still very general. It says a hardship shall be interpreted to mean financial or family conditions beyond routine circumstances, and I'm uncomfortable with that. For me, there's very few cases, and they're very specific cases where I would think would be reasonable that we would not expect an employee in this class to not have residency. So I'm really struggling with that. Thank you.
Mr. Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. Well, I find myself a little philosophically torn on this one because on the one hand, I mean, I too would love if every city employee lived in Beloit and spent taxpayer dollars in Beloit, but on the other hand, I think taxpayers would appreciate that we be able to hire the best employees with their money, and if there are really good reasons why those employees can't live here, I think we need to recognize with the complexities of our society that exists. So I'm supportive of this change. I also am not 100% comfortable that we can't better define the hardship, but I think ultimately that needs to be a discretionary issue. It's going to be reported to us anytime that it happens, and we'll be able to monitor that. If we started seeing hardship waivers left and right, and half of the people on this list had them, I think that would be a problem. If we didn't have any being issued, then we're probably not using them enough, because I'm sure there are instances where they're justified. So I guess I see this as a relatively reasonable compromise between the different goals that we're trying to achieve, and hope that it's used wisely and sparingly, but when appropriate. I just don't see the value in forcing somebody to live here if there's a legitimate reason why that would be a hardship. I think if somebody just wants to live right outside the city lines and not pay taxes here and come in and work here and use our services, I have a problem with that. But if somebody has a legitimate reason and they are committed to this community, then we should support that. So I would encourage the city manager as we implement this to use judgment to determine whether someone does want to be part of this team and has a good reason, or whether maybe somebody who's not quite as qualified on paper but wants to be part of this community would be a better candidate. But I don't think we can write that into the ordinance, so we're going to have to trust that judgment, and I support this change.
Any other? Councilor Van Bogart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also have a number of different thoughts on this ordinance, as has been expressed by a number of my fellow councilors and also Mr. Finnegan. I mean, the natural thought or inclination is, gee, we live here. Why shouldn't the people who work for us live here also? And that's historical. That's common sense. The problem that I think I run into or the observation that I note that causes a problem, is that concept runs directly into the face of modern American life. Modern American life is mobility. I don't doubt that Matt's numbers are correct. 10,000 people leave the community every day for a job, and 10,000 come in for a job. They drive to Madison, they drive to Milwaukee, they drive to Rockford, they drive wherever, and they come from those distances. It's not common sense to think that from a pool of 35,000 residents, we're going to find deputy city attorneys, directors of information services, directors of accounting and purchasing. The skill levels for these positions has gone up so high that you are not going to necessarily find somebody living next door who can meet those requirements. And to carte blanche say that they have to be residents shoots ourselves in vital parts because we will not get good people. Having said that, this ordinance does vest a great deal of discretion in the city manager, and the discretion that person can exercise. Not necessarily Mr. Arf, but two managers from him may become granting the waivers willy-nilly, or the opposite, as someone suggested, granting none of them. I think the council has to maintain some sort of an oversight role in this, and this is an attempt at balancing that. So I understand Kevin's point that if we're going to be granting waivers, why even list these people? Why not just say, okay, we're not having any? I think we're doing that in an attempt to tell the public, yes, we understand you'd like to have local people, so would we, and that's our starting position, that's our preference. However, if these issues are a hardship, we do have the capacity to go beyond it. So I will support this.
I'd like to point out my own observation in all of this is that society is in a is an evolution of thought on this whole issue. There's always this war between the concept of detached professionalism, giving a person all the impetus they need to govern a community, and the other where the enthusiasm that comes as being a resident of that community and having a vested interest in it. So there's this continuous struggle between these two lines of thought. And an evolution of it. I think that our present system, or the present thing in front of us, is something of a compromise. It gives us the ability to say, okay, we see this struggle, and we still want all of the persons who have decision-making power over our governance to live here, but that we understand that they may not be able to. And so I see this as an acceptable compromise on our road to attempt to resolving these issues that society is grappling with. So I think that's my observation. Councilor Levy.
Just a couple of follow-ups to Councilor Vander Bogart. And I understand that, but I think for the if we look at the individuals on the first part of that, to me, we're making that effort. We're requiring those on the high end to be here. I still rest with the fact that if we're going to be talking about issuing waivers, we have positions that may be coming open soon that we're going to be doing waivers right out the door. And if we're talking about that we want the employees of the city to live in the city, and I said this earlier, consistency is going to be the key. And I think all of us know that we're not consistent. We don't have all our employees living in the city, nor are we going after all our employees to live into the city. So with that being said, for the positions that we are offering the waiver for, I would like to offer a friendly amendment to this document, which is simply stating that I am in total agreement on the ones on from the city manager on down. I don't know what section that is. Section 2, I believe it is. But I would be in favor of removing the individuals under Section 3.
So your amendment is to strike paragraph 3?
Correct.
Okay.
I'd like to offer a friendly second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to amend the ordinance by striking paragraph 3. Anybody wish to comment on that amendment? Councilor DeForest.
I feel pretty strongly that the individuals on this list, we should expect them to live in the city. I mean, the purpose of this ordinance, as it's written, is to provide waivers when necessary. I guess I'm a little flabbergasted. I'm sorry, but yes, I expect the director of the housing authority and the city clerk and the city treasurer, I expect them to live in the city. Maybe this is just, maybe I have old-fashioned thinking here. But I would surmise that most taxpayers agree with me. So I'm really struggling with the notion that we won't at least require it and then provide the waiver. I mean, I'm struggling with the waiver itself, and to have my colleagues say, nope, let's just go ahead and scratch the whole thing and not even expect for them to live here to begin with is very troublesome to me.
Thank you. And Mr. Vice President.
There are positions on this list that, and without naming which ones are which, that I really would be fine with getting rid of the requirement on, and there are others that I think oversee aspects of people's lives in the city that people might have a reasonable expectation that they should live here. I'm sympathetic to this amendment, and depending on how the waivers play out, if this needs to come back at some point, but right now I'm not going to support it.
All right, any other questions? Okay, all in favor of this amendment, vote, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, the amendment dies 1-6.
I'm sorry, if you make that
2 to 5 then. Okay, I didn't hear you. Sorry about that. All right then. Do we have a motion on the
I
merits?
think we need to have a vote on suspending the rules first.
Oh, that's right, okay, okay.
You didn't vote on that.
We didn't vote on, do we have, but we do have a motion and second to suspend the rules. So all in favor of suspending the rules, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So we have moved to suspend the rules 7-0.
Motion for the vote on the ordinance.
Okay, moved by Lukey,
Second.
second by Spreitzer.
Question.
Okay, and,
I have a question.
okay, Counselor.
Just a quick
Levy.
question, and I'll direct this to Counselor DeForest. You say you are not comfortable with the definition of a hardship in this ordinance as it is written right now. Are we really ready to move forward then, if you're uncomfortable with any part of this ordinance? Because in my opinion, once it is gone, that's going to be it. I mean, whatever the definition is in here will be the definition. You can review it, but
Come back, bring it again.
I would like to point out just as to bring this up, I'd like to point out that if it's up or down tonight, we've wasted way too much of our time on this. But I'll City Manager.
I just want to comment on the definition. Yes, Councilor DeForest asked for that at the last meeting. The city attorney and I struggled trying to guess at what a specific hardship condition would be and how many of them there might be, how to list them. We really struggled with that. I tried to put a definition in there to give council some level of comfort that we wouldn't be just granting these with every position. I guarantee you we have no intention of doing that. And I was just looking down this list of eligible city officials, and better than almost 90% of the incumbents are city residents. So we don't see this as being a big deal. But it has been a problem before with recruitments, positions like Director of Information Services, Director of Accounting and Purchasing. Again, these are not positions that you go to the job center and there's 3 people sitting in the lounge waiting for a job. These require very, very high-end, often graduate degrees and very specialized training to be able to manage these systems. And so you're recruiting through the professional associations and the appropriate websites, et cetera, to find someone with these specific skill sets. And there may be occasion when we need to make a compromise between getting the top quality candidate and residency. And what we have said repeatedly is, from the management team's perspective, we would not want to compromise on the quality of the candidate over the residency issue. We will do everything we can to recruit people who are residents or who can become residents. In fact, that's specifically stated in the ordinance. If you recall earlier in the ordinance, it specifically states that we will work to do that. And we've done that extensively with our part-time and seasonal workers, and to the extent possible with our full-time recruitments. And we have hired a lot of city employees, and a lot of people have relocated. So I don't want to make the impression that we're writing these off and that none of them are ever going to be residents again. That's not what we're saying. But once again, I think the community is better served by having the higher quality and the best quality candidate that we can afford in these positions. And if residency is a stumbling block, we would be better off to do a hardship waiver than to lose a quality candidate. And once again, I just want to remind everybody that I put in that referral to council. I have to notify council every time one of these is granted. I put that in there. That's the control point. So council doesn't like one, doesn't think it's justified. They're certainly going to inquire of me, and I'm certainly going to respond to the governing board if there's an issue with one that's granted. Anytime council thinks we're granting too many of them or that this thing's got out of control, it's very easy for them to have an ordinance prepared on the next agenda and the waiver process would be gone. So there is control built into the ordinance to be sure that the system is not abused.
Thank you. I'd like to...
Can I have a question to the city manager?
Sure, go right ahead.
This is directed to the city manager. Just a question. How many times can a person apply for a waiver? Is that just...
There's no limit on making an application, and circumstances could change. We also, and we've run into this in many cases, where we had a short-term hardship, where there was a child completing school or a special needs child that was in a certain program in a school somewhere, and it really made it difficult for them to relocate for the next year. And so in some cases, as you'll know, we have provision here to do a finite waiver for a year or 18 months until that family situation is resolved, and then they would have to move into the city.
Okay, I'd like to point out that this is one of the troubles with some of these middle-of-the-road kinds of ordinance. There's people on opposite ends of it that are not happy with the compromise, and I get that. But
May I confess to a bias here?
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
I must confess to my bias that about 6 years ago, my wife and I moved to Beloit, and we had many, many choices of places to go. And this was exactly where we wanted to be. So I can't help but believe that if somebody was offered a job to work in the city, and they could possibly move here without ruining their financial capacity or other important things, that they would do so. And I'm glad to hear Larry say that right now maybe 90% of people on this particular list are already living in the city. I shouldn't be surprised to hear that, because this is a great place to be. But there are, given what the state of the economy and the way family formation is now, and where jobs are, I think we really need to recognize that. In that respect, then I really feel that that this particular second list is probably redundant with respect to reality. Most people will want to live here if they possibly can.
All right. I think it's time to go ahead and call the question. All in favor of this ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Item passes 6-1. Item 8B.
A proposed ordinance to amend Section 6.19 of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit as it relates to the fees for fire department services. This is a second reading from the November 5th, 2012 City Council meeting.
Good evening, City Councilors, City Manager. I appreciate the opportunity to present this again this evening. We did update the staff report from our last council meeting with some information in the council report, which was requested by you last meeting. That includes the information regarding our current collection rate. If you see in the first chart of the staff report, I gave 3 years of history in which our collection rates were 56 to 74%. Accounts that went into collections, about 16 in 1 year, 2 in 2011, and none so far this year. And then in 2011, we had 7 accounts go into the tax refund intercept program. We did do a survey just to give you some comfort that we're not the only community in Wisconsin that's doing this. And that survey revealed out of 864 departments, we had 114 respond prior to this survey being entered into this report. A great deal of departments do charge for these fees. The most prominent one is the hazardous materials fees, which we're already charging for. Then extrication, vehicle incident response, vehicle trailer fires. Only 17% of the departments that responded charged for structure fires, 18% for fire inspections, 5% for landing zones, 19% for special rescue, and 6% for broken water or sprinkler lines. And then also collected some information on how they bill. 52% bill with the fire department, 47% bill through their city treasurer, 14% use a third-party service, and then also another 14% use a collection, and then 15% use TRIP when the bills aren't paid by previous means. We did make the amendments to the ordinance regarding fire investigation fees. Those have been removed. So I would entertain any questions that you may have since our last meeting.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Moved by Lupke, second by Kincaid. Councilor, questions? Councilor Van den Bogaert.
Just perhaps a detail here, Chief, on your graph that you gave us, collection methodology, all that apply. Fire department bills, 52.4%. City treasurer, finance bills, 47.6%. And then billing services, 14.3%. That's way more than 100%. Are they redundant billings or?
These are all that apply. They may use several different methods. For instance, the one may use a billing service and the fire department bills. It just depends on the type of call. For instance, even in our situation where we have an internal customer, we won't put that through a billing service. When it's one city department paying another department, we would bill that internally. Also, there may be, for instance, townships and villages have the ability to bill the state for vehicle accidents and vehicle incidents on state highways and county trunk highways. They have a minimum of $500 they can bill for those, where cities don't have the ability to do that. Well, in situations where you have a township that is billing the state directly for those calls, they may also be using a billing service to bill a resident or non-resident for a service provided on that same call.
That's why you get more than 100%.
Right.
All right, the next question, and probably my last question, would be, what do you anticipate the increase in revenue to the city being with the adoption of this ordinance? I know we're charging for a number of these fees or services already, but with the additional fees that you hope to generate, and then take out the 20% that we'd use for a billing service, how much more do you anticipate us bringing in if this all goes according?
Historically, we've billed, in 2010, we collected $27,000. Last year, based on accrual accounting, we only collected $4,700. There was much more cash in, but we had more accounts outstanding than we had cash in, so from an accrual accounting standard, we did lose some money there. In 2012, so far, we've collected $11,000. We anticipate a total of $28,000. That's what we budgeted for this year. Obviously, we're not going to reach that revenue mark. Now, adding these fees, the additional fees, the projection from our subject matter expert, taking out the fire investigation fee that was there last time around, and then taking out the non-resident or the resident vehicle fires, where our revenue projections are $94,293, and then with a 20% fee to the collection agency, we expect that our net revenue for the city would be $75,434. That's what they would call a conservative estimate. I have talked to other billing services that believe that that is probably at the high end of what we would collect.
Thank you.
Councilor DeForest?
No, I don't.
Oh, you didn't. You look like you did. Anybody else have anything to?
Just a quick comment.
Okay. All right. Dave.
Chief, it's my understanding we're now going to bill for accidents on I-90-39 for non-residents.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good, because that takes our staff out of town, and we're out there quite often, aren't we?
Pretty good.
Yeah. So
Pretty good number of times a
I'm
year.
glad to see
Many
that.
times it's a medical emergency. We'll go to the rest stop for seizures and heart attacks and,
Right.
and things like that that occur on a pretty regular basis.
Thank you for adding that in.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, we have a motion. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and move to the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Item passes 6-1. Item 9 is appointments. We have one today. The undersigned, Charles M. Haynes, duly elected President of the Beloit City Council, subject to confirmation by the Beloit City Council, does hereby appoint the following citizen members to the vacancies and terms indicated below. Said appointments to being pursuant to nominations made by and approved by the Appointment Review Committee at the regular meeting held on November 12th, 2012. Our one appointment is David Sowell at 1132 Brewster Avenue, replacing Romel Whitkins for a term ending June 30th, 2015. A motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second. Moved by Levy, second by Spreitzer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. And I'd like to announce the following vacancies. Alcohol Beverage Licensing Control Committee has one vacancy for resident. Appointment Review Committee has 2 vacancies for residents. Board of Appeals has 2 vacancies alternate for residents. Board of Ethics has 1 vacancy for former city councilor, 2 vacancies for resident. Community Development Authority has 1 vacancy for residents. Disabled Parking Enforcement Assistance Council has 3 vacancies for residents with disabled plates. Equal Opportunity and Human Relations Commission has 1 vacancy for residents. Municipal Golf Committee has 1 vacancy for youth representative. Municipal Library Board has 1 vacancy for resident of Beloit or towns adjacent to the city. Parks and Recreation Conservation Advisory Commission has 1 vacancy for youth. And the Traffic and Review Committee has 1 vacancy for residents. I would encourage anyone who has any interest in any of these issues to contact the clerk's office to get an application and serve your community. Thank you. Item 10 is councilor activities and upcoming events. Councilor DeForest.
Thank you, Mr. President. I enjoyed visiting and being an observer at the Gulf Advisory Committee and met with them and heard from them about how the play was for the end of this season. And I just have to share, they've asked me to pass on that they're challenging the city council to come out for a play day. And yeah, and they knew that would be quite hysterical. I've never golfed in my entire life besides mini golf. So I said I would be willing to do it. And so for me to say I would be willing to do it, just to let you know, that's the challenge that they gave to us, is to go out there. I have toured the course with Mark, but I have not played it. So maybe something to think about for the spring. I'd be happy to organize that. And yeah, that's my husband was chuckling when I told him. I would like to make sure the community is aware about our fantastic holiday parade that will take place, of course, the day after Thanksgiving, a huge tradition in our community. On Friday, I'm excited about it, and it, of course, will be cold, so dress warm. And very excited about Holidazzle as well, which will occur on Friday, December 7th. So hope to see all of my friends and neighbors out at those 2 events. Thank you.
Councilor Kincaid.
I will accept the challenge, even though I leveled at a very low level years ago, and I hope to do much better on the golf course.
Everyone knows they'll do better than I will. So.
Well, you've set a good standard, which I appreciate. I attended a meeting many of us here did, with the state and federal officials for the highway, the I-90, I-39 project that is gaining steam now. And the takeaway for me was that there will be a lot of jobs available on that. And of course, many of them will be, of course, construction jobs. And some might even decide as they come that close to Beloit, they might like to live here. We're going to pray on that.
Councilor Spreitzer.
Thank you. Well, I also have never golfed before, so I'll accept the challenge, but no media coming to report on how badly I do. Sorry. I greatly enjoyed having the chance to work the election, doing same-day registrations at one of the polling places. It's the first time I had done that, and it was a great opportunity to see firsthand how that part of the process works. I also had the chance to attend a Chamber of Commerce lunch with Secretary of Transportation Mark Gottlieb, which was very informative, and I had a chance to hear more about the interstate projects as well as other transportation issues and funding issues throughout the state.
Councilor Van der Bogaert.
Thank you, Mr. President. As has been referred to already, I was also at the meeting with Department of Transportation Secretary Gottlieb, along with Councilor Spreitzer and City Manager Arft. Got kind of an update on what the DOT does. He was here last Tuesday. Last Thursday, along with Councilors Lupke, Haynes, and DeForest, and Kincaid, and City Manager Arft, we all attended the stakeholders meeting for the 43, 39, and 90 rebuild the interchange, as well as 90 all the way up to Madison. That is going to be a big deal. It's a big project. The last time anything like this happened was apparently from 1958 to 1961, when the interstate was initially built, and this is going to be a rebuild, and it's going to be a tremendous inconvenience, but when it's done, a tremendous improvement to our whole transportation infrastructure. So there were some individuals there who have access to job preparation for construction workers and a training process that you could get involved with if you're interested. It sounds quite rigorous, but I think it has to be given the nature of the work. I also would encourage individuals to participate in the upcoming Christmas parade this coming Friday, starting in the early evening, 5:30 or 6 in the downtown area. Santa will arrive, music and the parade, and then, of course, the Holodazzle event on Friday the 7th of December. Some people that didn't get a thank you when we did our earlier acknowledgement of Ms. Hausman and her staff is the tremendous number of poll workers that functioned at each of the 6 elections that we've had this year. I had the opportunity to serve as an election observer at the initial stages of absentee voting, and there were a large number of people that came in. They had to be registered, they had to be dealt with. Rebecca was in and out, her staff was there, not these ladies necessarily that we just honored, but other workers. And this was the 6th time this year these people have done this. They're not paid, and they take a tremendous amount of time from their day to get trained, and then they come in and have come in repeatedly to participate. And they are really the sung and somewhat unsung heroes of this whole election process, and they deserve a big thank you. So, thank you.
Councilor Lupke.
I think I speak for all the councilors and City Manager Arf when I say that we had a very fruitful meeting with the town of Beloit last week, and things are progressing as far as saving taxpayers in both locales money and in maybe getting better services in these areas. We're making steps, and I think we're all very positive. So that's the main thing I wanted to say.
Councilor Levy.
Shocking news, since everyone's talking about bike riding and how I don't ride bikes, but I will like to let the public hear it first that I did play golf once. So if I happen to show up, I'm the cart driver because I like doing that. So I'll go to the chief of police and say, can I get a ticket on that golf cart if I'm speeding around there? Is there a rule? I just want to be clear before I get in there. All right, that's the fun part of the golf that I did. So I want everyone to know. So I get just want everybody to know I'll drive the cart. So.
Well, finally, to me, I would say that since I've putted and done nothing else with a golf club, if we all went out there to play, we would probably be there all afternoon, and we might get through. We might, but that would be I suppose it would be interesting for us all to show up and do that. And point out that a number of us went to the meeting with the state DOT about the reconstruction of 9039 and specifically the interchange that's so near and dear to us. This is going to be an amazing process. We're going to be in the next 5 or 6 months, we're going to be getting a lot of the public input on this. I think the finished product is going to be exciting. We don't need to be afraid of it, but we do have to accept the fact that there's going to be a great deal of inconvenience for the next few years. But hopefully we can all have a long vision and consider what we're ultimately going to be getting out of it. I think that's pretty much all for myself, so we'll move on to item 11A.
We have our annual winter report, winter maintenance report. Christine Walsh, the Director of Operations for the Public Works Department, is here tonight, and she's going to give council and the community an update on our snow removal program, an update on the brine system and how that's working, talk a little bit about some of the regulations and other aspects that go into our winter storm cleanup operations. So my pleasure to introduce Christine Walsh.
Thank you, Larry.
Madam Director.
How about that?
Okay, good.
Okay, first of all, that I would share with you, and this has not changed, probably in the 20 years I have been here. However, there's lots of other things that have changed. But the goal of Snow and Ice is very simple, just to provide safe travel in the city of Beloit by the removal of snow or ice. We ask ourselves every year, probably 12 months of the year, what are the real maintenance goals that we want to be able to achieve. Besides providing safety and mobility to the general public, road users, people that need to travel on them to get to work, we want to do this without negatively impacting the environment. And we are big pushers of that. We were probably the pioneers in this state because once salt is in the ground, it doesn't just disappear, and all the products that we use. We wanted to be able to do this within budget, and moreover, we wanted to do it less than what the budget was for, and we have proven that we can do that. We want to provide the right service, and as elected officials, I think that is the big question for you guys. What is the level of service that we really need? You know, we live in Wisconsin, and we can't forget that. So we don't need pristine, we don't need clear roads. And we have found over the last few years, cutting back, we still get accolades. People like what we're doing, even when our roads are not clean. They're not bare pavement. And then also to address social expectations with our communities. Some communities clean everyone's driveways. We don't do that. And they purchase equipment to do that. Tools that we use, we have 12 months of the year. We plan for snow and ice. It does not occur just in the winter months. We provide in-depth training. This last year we had a couple of us snow and ice certified through the American Public Works Association. I hope to get a couple more this year. We do a lot of weather forecasting. We use the forecasting that we can get our hands on. This year, quite frankly, Telvent, one of the systems that we use, tell us that there will be a similar winter as last year. Less moisture, colder temps than average. However, at the start of the season and the end of the season, we can anticipate extreme storms. Don't know if it will be flooding, could be snow, could be rain, could be ice, just extreme storms. Farmer's Almanac has a little bit different twist on it. They say heavier snow. So I'm not sure, I'm not the weather genie, but we'll wait and see on that. Advertising, we do right at after Thanksgiving, we do some advertising to let people know here's how the system works. We've been very successful with that. One of the things that I pride our group on doing, and we do it with every single storm, we debrief that storm. And that's important to us just so we can keep improving. and making sure the puzzles, of the pieces of the puzzle work together. So if it is code, if it is police issues, if it's mechanical issues, dispatch issues, everything we talk about. We spend a couple hours doing that after each storm so we can try to improve. And then chemicals and equipment, of course. I thought I'd just throw these in because I don't know that if you know that we do this, but our operators have a lot of fun with the children in Beloit. We go out to schools, we have school visits, we have a dozen school visits a year in the operations facility, and the operators actually walk the kids around and talk to them. And then when we go out and do school visits, we show this video and talk to the kids about how cool, snow plowing is. The guys had an idea, and these are a couple of our blades. Well, not if you're the guy with the little fairies on that side. We let the kids kind of pick and choose, what they wanted to put on. They showed us what they wanted to put on, so we were all good. However, when the little fairies came back, the only thing I heard from our lead operator, that better not be my blade. And it was, so that was not by anything but sheer luck of the draw, and everybody, of course, likes the other one. We do annual snowplow training, and we invite other communities in that training, so we've been doing that for probably 10-plus years, and it's intensive. I mean, our guys know what other communities do not know, and I'm very proud of them for that. We also do equipment training, and we're just finishing up a little bit of just doing a pre-trip where we jerry-rig 12 things. We call it a dirty dozen. The fleet group gets involved, and they jerry-rig 12 things wrong on a snowplow, and the operators have to find them in a timed sequence. Winterization started for us September 1. We have two types of winterization. We have the winterization the actual fleet department, the 4 mechanics do, and then we have what our operators do. Typically, you'll never see operators work on equipment. Ours have had a long-term standing agreement that they work together to get this done, or we couldn't do it. I think it would be not right of me to mention this. So going green when it's white outside, these are the things that we talk about with the operators, and we talk about them with residents as well. I know we want to be sensitive to the environment while providing the correct level of service. We want to utilize materials that produce good results and are friendly to the environment. We are always looking for new, improved methods. This year, we hope to try a new product. It is 100% organic, and we would not put any brine with it, so it would be 0 salt in it. We're going to try it on a small scale. We are being asked to try this product, so we'll let you know what those results are. And then again, we want to find equipment that meet our specific needs, not just what does our city need. Some of the going green, a lot of it occurs within the fleet. You know our hydrogen on demand. We are still working with the university on that, finishing up on one of the grants, and we'll have the results of that this next spring. We are researching CNG and biofuels, and we've also looked at some hybrids, flex fuel vehicles. Danny put idle timers on our vehicles. We have policies whereby operators cannot idle trucks. The new emissions we are keeping up with, we switched everything over to synthetic lubricants to save money. We are trying new plow blades. First year we did that, I think we saved the city over $17,000. Now we are looking at heated wiper blades. And actually, this last year, we bought one pair because I'm like, oh, do we really need to do this? Well, that was the only operator that didn't have issue, because if you remember last year, we had the little bit of snow we did get, it wasn't dry snow, it was wet or icy snow. And that saved that operator. The rest of the operators were constantly out of their truck trying to scrape. Stainless steel spinners, smart thing, we did that, and we also jerry-rigged some of our trucks to be able to spray more, because the manufacturers don't come like that. I thought it important for you to know this. Plowing is the absolute best method of removing snow. It's not laying salt down, it's not laying additional salt down. In fact, it takes 4 times more salt to remove than just to get it off the road. Now that is removing snow. However, when we pre-spray, many times we do not have to plow. So if we're getting less than 2 inches, that pre-spray does everything and more, that we don't even have to go out. And when we pre-spray, the other thing that it does is when we drop blade and plow, it allows us to plow off the snow a whole lot easier. And I think you guys know all this, but I will go through it again. We do it chemically. We use salt, rock salt, calcium chloride. Our product right now, our organic that we use, is GeoMelt. It is a sugar beet. We use liquid brine that our guys manufacture. And we make blends. And this is like Greek to most communities. I'd say over 90% of the communities in Wisconsin, this would be absolutely Greek. And I know for you guys, this is not Greek. And that's a great thing. So we can make various blends depending on what storm we are getting, and depending on the price of these products. All of our trucks right now are filled with liquid. They are not filled with salt. So that portion of it, we are good to go. We prioritize our roads. We do the main arterials first, then our bridges, hills, and then residential. We ask the guys repeatedly, please use sensible salting. Do sensible salting. Do not oversalt. If they're looking in their rearview mirror and they can see salt, that means they're putting out too much. We calibrate. We have an operator right now that is calibrating all of our trucks. And in every truck, there is a sheet that tells you if you have your spinner at a certain number and your auger at a certain number, this is how many pounds you're laying down. So there's never confusion. If they're jumping in another truck that's not theirs, they can look at that sheet and know exactly what they're putting down. I bring this up because people always ask, how much does it cost? What is an average winter? I haven't had an average really in 20 years, but I wanted you to see the huge difference from the 10-11 season, when we used 2,300, almost 2,400 ton of salt, to last year. And last year we had a lot of little spits where it was an inch or less, and we couldn't pre-spray. And we couldn't because before that, the snow came in those instances, we were getting rain. And rain will totally wipe out pre-spray immediately. Within 10 minutes, we would have lost all that money. So we made, a conscientious decision not to pre-spray. That meant we used salt. We had to go out and do it. Bag salt, this last year, very little. And then salt brine, and you can see the gallons that we are going through. It's really very impressive. Salt brine, 38, almost 39,000 this last year, 12,000. And the product of choice the guys like is called an 80-10-10, which is 80% salt brine, 10% calcium chloride, and 10% organic. In the 10-11 season, we used 140,000 gallons. That's a lot of gallons. And the same with last year, we used 71, almost 72,000 gallons. I would be remiss if I did not tell you, today is National Snowplow Driver Appreciation. So I want to thank the guys for what they do. They do a great job, including the dispatch, the supervisors. They all do a really nice job. And everyone that helps us, the code inspectors, the police department, and occasionally fire. So anyone that helps, it's great. Is there any questions for this year? Jim?
Yes, I was not able to make the meeting, I think it was last week, but can you outline the plans for downtown on Main Street when we have a big, or if we have a big snow event with the construction that's taking place?
I like that positive attitude. If we have a big, let's stick with that one, Jim.
All right.
If we have a snowfall, the 400 block of East Grand, we're going to change up a little bit on the south side of the road where the Jersey barriers are, is where all of the snow will be pushed. So the eastbound, traffic going eastbound, during that event, it will be one way, and the one way will be driving westbound. And we will allow the parking on that side. This is a trial. I think we try it and we see how it goes because we want the downtown to do very well. Our plan is to get that block very first picked. However, you need to realize too that we have to transition the equipment. We can't just finish plowing and then say, by the way, we're going to go pick snow. Number one, the guys have a 16-hour limit. And number two, all of the spinners, everything has to come off the truck, and we have to transition to be able to pick with the equipment. Typically, if we have a snowstorm, we are not picking until the next day. Plus, we have to empty the product. It's a little bit of a battle to get it all swapped over. But the guys have made a commitment to do the best that they can. And I trust that that will happen. Anything else?
Councilor Forrest.
I'd just like to thank you for our progressive strategies, and I'm very excited about our division's emphasis on being environmentally sensitive. And I'm looking forward to hearing a report at some point on how the use of the 100% organic product goes. Hopefully that will have good results for us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Kincaid.
I was especially happy to hear about the kids. We have generations of kids who want to be firemen. Now I look forward to the generations that would like to work for Public Works. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, we'll move on to item 12A.
A resolution approving the 2013 animal control contract with the Dane County Humane Society and authorizing the execution thereof.
Hello, good evening. The City of Beloit's current stray animal vendor does not offer services for the care and housing of owned, injured, or neglected animals. The City of Beloit manages many owned animal cases annually, and typically the people who deal with that are the police department, or sometimes fire will call the police if there's a situation. The contract before you tonight establishes a consistent protocol for the care of owned animals and neglected animals in the City of Beloit, which currently does not exist. Every case is handled on a case-by-case basis, and police officers are usually scrounging, calling, begging for help if an animal is injured. The police department has budgeted for additional CSOs in the 2013 budget to address the field work component, and the Dane County Humane Society has a space available and a formal relationship with a vet to provide and care for the necessary owned animals and neglected animals in the City of Beloit that we come across for 2013 and hopefully beyond.
Right, do we have a motion to approve? Move for Lupke, second by DeForest. Counselor, questions? Counselor DeForest.
Thank you. Beth, thank you for getting back to me with some of the questions that I had earlier. I wanted to ask for some clarification about the transportation, because I'm concerned about both the time that officers will be transporting animals and then, of course, the cost and wear and tear on our vehicles. So as far as I understand, if an animal does have to go to their ECA, which is like their emergency shelter where they have to be evaluated if they've been abused or neglected or injured in some way, or potentially for rabies concern, and they eventually then are transferred to their regular facility, their holding facility. You made mention that it's possible that Dane County might assist us with transporting. I'm worried about officers having to take an animal to ECA, they come back to Beloit, and having to go all the way back up to Madison again to transport an animal from ECA to the regular holding facility. Do you have a sense of how feasible that is, that we might get some help with transporting animals up there?
I spoke to the president of the Dane County Humane Society, and just so that you guys know, I've really been negotiating with the president of their board, also their executive director, everyone who is on the same page. They're excellent at communicating, and that is the language that's written in here, but Dane County as a county has a contract with the Dane County Humane Society, which is just like Beloit and Rock counties, is that it's a separate entity. And Dane County has humane officers, and they also make that similar trip. And so if we were in a bind, they think that we can work out a situation where they could transport it should the animal have recovered and can then be transferred over. I don't see it being an issue. We do handle a lot of cases, but not routinely. I wouldn't say every week. I would say, we might get 2 a month, or we might get none a month. I don't think it will be an issue. Should we move forward with a larger contract with Dane County, we will be up there more often, and you'll see us working with the city of Janesville. We haven't really worked out those details, but in the future, there's potential for Beloit or Janesville to be up there, in which case we could work with potentially Janesville and also potentially Dane County. This process has been really easy. When you talk to the staff there, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of barriers in place, and we can work out an arrangement.
Thank you. As a follow-up to that, I know at one point we were talking about maybe the possibility of having a temporary holding facility, maybe in Janesville, kind of a halfway point where animals could be collected and then taken all at one time.
Sure. If we did a holding facility, that would be if we did not handle strays through Rock County, and we're still, I know it's November, we're still kind of at the cusp of that.
Okay.
That is one of the alternatives that is being considered for that. There was some talk about a piece of land that was available, and that did not pan out. It was someone's, grandson or someone owned the property, and it wasn't going to be sold for the taxes. It was going to be sold for a value, so that was quickly diminished. But we have gotten a couple emails from people that seem interested in that, so we're still working that out. At this point, the stray animals are in the air, but you'll know in the next 6 weeks what we decide to do. Okay. And the holding facility would work out better if Beloit and Janesville were going that route, but Beloit needs to make a decision, Janesville needs to make a decision, and then we can work cooperatively.
Okay. And then, sorry, my last question that I wanted to follow up on. How much do you know about Dane County Humane Society's euthanasia protocol? If an owner doesn't come to claim the animal, from the information you gave me, it looked like they had a 100% adoptable rate. Is that correct? That's incredible.
They have, you have to read it sort of within reason. They have a 100% adoption guarantee for cats and dogs that are adoptable, and that's the caveat. Some animals, if you do a temperament test and they're aggressive or they're known biters, or they perhaps, it's a really touchy subject to talk about, but perhaps it's near the end of its life based on its breed. Those animals are not necessarily easy to adopt, and so they have assuming that it's a stray animal that's healthy and doesn't have considerable issues, then they have a 100% guarantee. They're not technically a no-kill shelter, but Dane County is different than Rock County, and about 50% of the animals they take in are surrendered, and that's just based on their having such a large population. I hesitate to say students, but sometimes people buy dogs or cats and they can't maintain them or bring them back home or what have you, and so that's much different than Rock County. So a lot of the dogs and the cats that they have are already acclimated to homes and families, so it's a little bit different statistics at Dane County. But just like Rock County, it's a happy, fun environment, lots of people, lots of excitement going on, so I don't have any concerns about that.
Okay, thank you.
Dave? Do you have anything? Anything else? Okay, then. Hearing no other councilor questions or comments, we'll call the matter. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. On to 12B.
A resolution regarding the indemnification agreement for the property located at 202 Sherland Avenue.
City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I'm going to handle the staff presentation here by default, but this is a brief indemnification agreement so that the Rock County Treasurer's Office will move forward with the property tax foreclosure on the property at 202 Sherland Avenue. The city actually removed the structures on this property some years ago. The company removed the tanks. This was all done under a code enforcement action because of the deteriorated nature of the buildings. But the land has never passed title. It actually went into foreclosure years ago, but the bank never took it back. It is a brownfield site. However, it is not a major site. We've seen under the ground, the tanks have all been removed. The only thing remaining on the brownfield status is to cap the property. That'll be done with dirt, black dirt top, and a solder seating on top of it to meet DNR standards. We've also had an assurance from DNR that there's funds available in their brownfield grant program, that they will make a grant available for the city to cover the cost for this project. Council will recall we discussed this earlier in the budget preparation process or during the budget preparation process, and the plan is to have the city's water resources utility purchase this property because it's next to the main pumping station on Sherland Avenue. And the site, once it's cleaned and capped, will be added to the pumping station site, will be available here in case any other land is ever needed for expansion of the building or installation of any outside equipment. Otherwise, it will simply remain lawn space and will be mowed and maintained adjacent to the pumping station. The thing we need to do tonight is the indemnification agreement before Rock County will put itself in the chain of title. As soon as we do this, they will go ahead and process the property and will immediately flip it to the city. I believe there was a price noted in the staff report as to what was negotiated here. On that, maybe not. Yep, $10,000 was previously approved for this particular purchase. And a lot of that money will be coming back to the city, by the way, to reimburse the city not only for its portion of the taxes, but also for the assessments on the property for the building demolition work, et cetera. So if there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer those at this time.
Move approval, Mr. President. Second.
Moved by Vander Bogaerts, second by Lupke. Anybody have any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. The last item on the agenda is to adjourn. Do I have a motion? Moved by Levy. Second by Lupke. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks.
Hey, I could say respectfully disagree, didn't I?
I know you didn't. You just said that because we're on TV.